for frying any redcoat Sith foolish enough to cross his path. But the colonial Jedi were not without opposition. The redcoat Sith, led by the Dark Lord Cornwallis, had crossed the Atlantic, bringing with them the dark side of taxation without representation. Their red lightsabers blazed like the very flames of oppression, ready to extinguish the light of liberty forever. The battles were fierce, and the stakes higher than the price of tea in Boston Harbor. At Bunker Hill, the colonial Jedi held their ground, their flintlock blasters firing energy bolts that could punch through the toughest redcoat armor. With each pull of the trigger, a burst of light and smoke, a fusion of the old and the new. And who could forget Thomas Jefferson, the Jedi Knight who penned the Declaration of Independence with one hand while wielding his lightsaber with the other? It was he who gave voice to the rebellion, declaring that all men are created equal, with the inalienable right to life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness, or, in this case, the right to take down a few Sith Lords. The final battle came at Yorktown, where the forces of light and dark met in a cataclysmic struggle. Washington and Cornwallis, Jedi and Sith, fought with the full might of the Force behind them. Flintlock blasters cracked through the air like thunder, while lightsabers sliced through the gloom, each swing a testament to the fight for freedom. And when the dust settled, it was the colonial Jedi who stood victorious. Cornwallis defeated, surrendered, and the force of liberty triumphed over tyranny. The Sith were driven back across the sea, and a new hope was born, a republic where the force of freedom would reign supreme. But the story does not end there. Knowing that the dark side could rise again, the Founding Fathers, in their final moments, channeled all their power, their wisdom, and their hope for the future into one single powerful crystal, a crystal of liberty. They knew that one day the force of liberty would need a new champion, someone worthy to wield this ancient power and restore balance when the force of freedom was once again threatened. For generations, the crystal lay hidden, its power waiting for the right moment, the right person to awaken it. And then, one fateful day, it was discovered by a man named Austin Peterson, a libertarian, a modern-day freedom fighter who would fulfill the destiny set in motion centuries before. The crystal called to him, and with it, Austin took up the mantle of the colonial Jedi, determined to bring balance back to the force of liberty in the United States. Through his show, the Wake Up America show, Austin Peterson became the voice of resistance, the spark of rebellion against the creeping darkness of tyranny. With the power of the Founding Fathers' crystal, he fights not with lightsabers or blasters, but with the force of truth, reason, and unwavering dedication to the principles of liberty. So remember, young Padawan, the fight for freedom is never easy, but with courage, unity, and a little bit of force on your side, even the darkest Sith can be vanquished. May the force of freedom be with you, always. In a galaxy not so far away, but a couple of centuries ago, a great struggle unfolded. A time of turmoil, where the force of freedom clashed against the oppressive grip of tyranny. This is the story of the Founding Fathers, the brave Jedi of the colonies, who dared to defy the dark side of the Redcoats.
Good morning, Rise in Freedom. I'm Austin Peterson. You're watching and listening to the Wake Up America show on the 4 Liberty Network. We are live. How's everybody doing? It takes a lot of work to get a show like this up on the air, from setting up the cameras and the wires to getting it through the software phase. There's like 2 major parts, right? There's the hardware and the software. And I just have to give a big shout out to Nelson Otto this morning, who went from fan to friend when he stepped into the studio and started helping us to set up cameras and equipment so that I can focus on giving you the absolute best content that I can. It's so early in the morning here. It's so stinking early in Jefferson City, Missouri. I got to say thank you twice to Nelson. So everybody, if you see Nelson in the chat today, say thank you. We've got some big news stories to cover. Lots of it is a white pill. Some of it is kind of like biting your fingernails. Trump-Harris race, a virtual tie in 2 new polls, with the GOP nominee getting the Electoral College edge, writes the New York Times. But honestly, we're all just kind of panicking because it's just too damn close. Drew Van Runkle asking the real questions about the monthly subscription automatically renew. Doesn't look like it if it's on Rumble, because you'll get a little button next to your name that will say, it's got a little red, looks like a castle piece. So you can do it on Rumble, or you could do it at wakeupamericashow.com/support. Big shout out to Quest Fanning. he became a member of the Peterson's Patriots Club, which is the $17.76 a month. You're basically on par with Sam Adams, Thomas Jefferson, Patrick Henry, and George Washington. You're them all rolled into one if you are $17.76 and above. And we give Christmas cards to those people. Thank you, guys. Your financial support is great. Of course, when it happens during the Wake Up America show, Drew, if you renew today during the show, that goes towards the bonus content to unlock before we hit that $60 one. So thank you very much for everybody tuning in. I know you want to hear about the big news story today. I'm going to talk to the judge about a judge. That's right. We're going to speak to Judge Andrew Napolitano this morning, an hour from now, about the case against Alex Jones. We're going to talk about the liquidation and auctions which have been ordered for Alex Jones's Infowars to help pay the Sandy Hook families. You can imagine that right-wing Twitter is not pleased. His platform will be sold off piece by piece in auctions this fall to help pay the more than $1 billion that Alex Jones owes relatives of victims of the Sandy Hook elementary shooting. And this is under an order that is expected to be approved by a federal judge that will go forward. So Jones vows to continue his talk shows through other means. He might build a new website and go through his personal social media accounts versus the ones that, can you imagine having your social media accounts for your business taken away? It's like, it's a brave new world that we live in. I mean, is my business model any different? This could absolutely happen to me. And no matter how you feel about Alex Jones, love him, hate him, indifferent about him, this is the kind of precedent that you want to be very careful about setting in our society. And I imagine Judge Napolitano, who's a big fan of Alex Jones, who comes on at 8, will have a strong free speech argument to make in favor of Alex Jones. Now, I think it's wise to look at the other side of things. I'm more of an indifferent to Alex Jones guy because I don't listen to Alex Jones, but again, I don't listen to anybody. Really, for the most part, I listen to very, very few people in formulating my political views, and podcast hosts or talk show hosts and things like that, despite this may sound a little, ironic, right? Being one, right? I try and get my information from more primary sources typically. And that's not to denigrate the medium. Good God, if it wasn't what Alex Jones pioneered, I don't know if the setup, the arrangement I'm doing right now would even be operational. The positive things you can say about Alex Jones is that he's definitely a pioneer in the industry. And I know that this is hard for people nowadays to kind of comprehend, but not all right-wing constitutionalist, limited government, freedom fighters, and the deep state, hate the globalist type people are in the conspiracy realm, right? Some of us are in a different realm. And if you've never read books by people like Michael Shermer or others, then you might not kind of know, like, there's right-wing patriots that are on a different spectrum, right? We're all autistic. No. Maybe we are because we got our vaccines. Anyways, if that triggers you, you are in the wrong damn place, because the Wake Up America show roasts everybody, even the people we love and people that I like and my friends. But especially if they're in government, if they walk into the studio, they're going to get roasted. They're going to get questions asked of them that they might not get asked, even from like their most difficult political opponents, because more than anything, more than just like rah, 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 we love you, all this kind of shit, we care about the principles of individual liberty, right? So what do we care about more than anything? We care about freedom. We care about our country and our nation. And we put that above this concept of, well, I got to just say nice things to people. And, a lot of times, especially someone in my position, for example, it's dangerous for me to not join a cult. That's one of the things that you learn if you're kind of more along the skeptical side of things in terms of the political spectrum, is that politics is all about cults more than anything today. We call it tribalism, but it's cults, right? And the cults all sort of like, there's like big cults with like little mini cults in them, and they all sort of like work together in their cultish ways, and they have rituals and all that kind of stuff. I don't have any rituals. I don't worship anything. I just trying to find the truth the best that I can with the blind, so being semi-blind humans, the limited capacity that we as humans have to sort of understand the complexities of the universe. I'm doing my best to find that information and bring that to you here on the Wake Up America show. It's just something different. It's just something a little different. So I might have a little bit of a different take on Alex Jones and Infowars. Not to say that I think that what the government is doing to him is right or correct, but just that, I don't truck in the conspiracy world. That's just not my thing. And conspiracies are interesting because they sort of denote, again, that tribal affiliation, right? We all believe in the same conspiracy theories, so therefore we're part of the tribe. And a lot of sort of my alienation from some libertarian circles involves that, right? Because rather than when I look at Javier Milei of Argentina, for example, we're going to talk about him in 20 minutes with Aaron Sepulveda. Oh my God, what has Javier Milei been doing? Kicking so much ass around the world, telling the globalists to go to hell to their faces, and I applaud that. But why don't I? So why am I somewhat alienated from some libertarian circles? Right, is because when I see what Argentina is doing with their gold, and 60% of it goes to the United Kingdom, so that they can initiate cash transfers. I think to myself, okay, what are the economic and implications of this? But then, my Alex Jones people are like, he's sending his money to he sent all his money to the Rothschilds. And I'm like, wait, what? He sent all his money to the Rothschilds. And I look into it and I'm like, oh, it's for bank transfers and all this kind of stuff. And then I'm like, well, hey, wait a minute. It wasn't all of Argentina's. You said all of Argentina's money. It's not all of Argentina's gold, not all of their gold, right? And I was being hyperbolic. And it's like, well, then, don't expect people to take you seriously. Don't expect people to take you seriously. Okay, if you're gonna talk like you're full of shit, you're gonna act like you're full of shit. Don't get angry at me for thinking you're full of shit when you do that. Okay, Austin, it's well, I don't just believe every retard that walk with an opinion in a Twitter account that tells me what to believe. I just don't. I'm not in your cult. Get the fuck out. Get away from me. I just want to live in peace. I don't want to join your cult. I don't want to join your cult. I don't want to be a part of any of it. I don't want to be a part of it. I want to be part of a community. I like that. I know that I'm not atomistic. I'm not full blown Ayn Rand, man is an island. No, I understand. We live in a community. I mean, Kamala Harris, despite her weirdness, right? It's I
don't know what's wrong with you young people. You think you just fell out of a coconut tree? You exist in the context of all in which you live and what came before you.
Okay, weirdo. Yeah. So there's a point, right? So we're part of American society. I want to be part of the United States. I want to be a part of Jefferson City. I'll join the Republican Party because I have to, for the love of God, because you all got the knife. You got the knives to my throat, right? You're stealing, the political cults that run this country are stealing every goddamn penny I have every quarter coming out of my thing. And you send those rumble rants in and I'm like, oh, here comes the tax man with his hand out and, squeezing my tit until it's purple. Right. So, but don't get mad at me when I don't join your very specialized cult. Don't get mad at me if I don't believe automatically everything I hear the first time. And then don't get mad at me if, I try and give as much red meat as possible as I can on the Wake Up America show. Listen, I'm passionate about a lot of things and I'm really into it. It may sound a little bit culty and all that kind of stuff. And I've been in cults in the past, a little bit on the fringes of such, not Scientology or anything like that, but political cults, right? And I'll tell you this, it's, you learn your lessons, you get out, right? It's a cult because how they treat you when you leave. It's a cult, right? It's a little different from a religion, right? The cult is when you leave, then it's kind of what is the penalty for apostasy? It's death, Allah, Muhammad, the globalists, right? I just want to think for myself. I don't want to be a cult. And honestly, it hurts my career. I'll be honest. I'm not gonna lie. I've taken big hits to my career from things behind the scenes just because, if you want to get in politics and media, you got to kiss enough ass, but you also got to you got to lie. You get to the point where you realize, okay, now your opponent is has all of this power and all this money and all of this leverage over you. And I remember phone conversations with people when I was in DC and they're like, Austin, we're going to send you this very lavish retreat. I mean, I remember the very first time I got offered this beautiful trip. Okay. This is what they do a lot. The elites, they offer you these incredible, all expenses paid, the Four Seasons hotel, not shrimp, but prawn, gigantic, like prawn from the Philippines, with cocktail sauce. And trust me, I've been to a few of those parties and things like that around the edges in like Austin, Texas and things like that, right? I've dabbled. But usually, not always, but usually when they send you to the penthouse suite of the Four Seasons, in that situation, they want something for it, right? You're not just a pretty little thing that they're bringing to be like decorations on the side because you're young and you're cute. P. Diddy, diddy, diddy. Do a diddy, diddy, dumb diddy, too. Did he do it? Did he do it? Now, there's where the conspiracy is happening. P. Diddy and Jeffrey Epstein, and, I agree with Alex Jones on all that. But I just don't, I don't care about the penthouse suite of the Four Seasons. Once you've kind of seen it and done it, once or twice, I know some people get addicted to it. They get addicted to being like having the vicinity to power, but you have to lie to get there. You have to say things. I remember a phone call that I had in 2008 in Washington, D.C. I was in the, the Watergate Hotel, Richard Nixon fame, G. Gordon Liddy. And I remember getting the phone call, and the guy wants to send you to some event, some lavish retreat, like maybe even business class on planes and stuff. And but you had to take a political position. You had to have a very specific political position. Now, listen, I understand people have a political position. They want to support people that believe what they want to believe. Perfectly legitimate. Send them for training or do all this kind of stuff. But there's a lot of people in Washington D.C. who have sponsors. And those sponsors aren't always disclosed, as we've learned recently. Some people are getting big paychecks, big paydays. But I don't do that. I don't take any of that. I think the day that the For Liberty Network starts taking big checks is the day that it changes, right? And again, it has to change, right? You have to grow and change. And maybe I'd love to find an investor of like-minded and of better means than me, but who is of like mind, who could step in and sponsor not just the Wake Up America show, but the 2 new shows coming this fall to our network. But this is a dangerous business. It's a dangerous game that I'm playing here. And it's not just a dangerous game in terms of what my career might portend or what even the federal government might do to me, right, in terms of shutting me down. But it's a dangerous game to my family and the risks that I take in running this business every day. And when you see what they've done to Alex Jones and you see how they can snatch away what you said, I don't agree with what Alex Jones said about Sandy Hook stuff. The crisis actors thing, right? That's the conspiracy that I don't truck with, again, until there's real evidence that that's what it is. You don't just, you see a photograph and you speculate. That's why this morning I posted, you have to use Occam's razor on things like that. When someone says something like that, I'm in mid-Missouri. Let's say let's do a thought experiment together. You guys ready? Let's do a little Mr. Rogers moment, right? We're going to use logic. If you're in mid-Missouri with me and we're hanging out at Oktoberfest in Hermann, Missouri, and we see this beautiful winery and we hear the clop, clop, clop of hoofbeats, what do you think it is that is approaching? Horses or zebras? Right? And therein is the point. If you are in mid-Missouri and you hear hoofbeats, think horses, not zebra. Good morning, everybody. Welcome to the Wake Up America show. I'm Austin Peterson. Got a little deep this morning, right off the bat. I usually try and hit the headlines. I've got a lot of things to share with you here this morning. Pink Amy says, doesn't the government media push more conspiracy theories than anyone else? Yes, but that doesn't make it okay. It's wrong when they all do it, right? It's wrong. It's not wrong to speculate, but not on the basis of no evidence, and then not on the basis that you're presenting it as news, right? It's like that Olivia Nuzzi reporter lady who's like trying to sleep with Robert F. Kennedy Jr. Now she's the story, right? The journalist, like it's a fuzzy thing that we do here in this, and I'll grant you that. And it is much worse, obviously, when the government does it. And I think to an extent, Alex Jones is being victimized. And I don't think that he deserves this particular repercussion, but in some sense, socially, there should be repercussions when you say something like that without evidence. There should be social repercussions. Instead, he gets rewarded for it. And I think that that's wrong. I think it's wrong. Listen, Owen Schroyer over there is a buddy, I would say an acquaintance, fellow Missourian. And I don't watch these shows typically. I do get their clips, and certain things I'll study more than others, and I've been on InfoWars a few times, and usually it's for things like debates, right? So I've gone on InfoWars to debate the skeptical side, the Gerald Posner side of the John F. Kennedy assassination. And listen, Judge Napolitano, like, he doesn't agree with me at all. He thinks it's a conspiracy by CIA and LBJ and the mafia, and then everybody killed JFK, but Lee Harvey Oswald. Like, you know what I mean? Everybody shot him, but Lee Harvey Oswald. I'm just kidding. I love the judge, but I just I know Owen Schroyer, and I like a lot of the reporting that I've seen him do, and I think him and a lot of J6ers are very unfairly persecuted, and we should stand up for their rights. And even if I thought that Alex Jones was a scoundrel, even if I did think that, I would defend a scoundrel's rights, because you must defend a scoundrel's rights, because they're coming for Alex Jones, they're coming for you. Because the media, like the left, we're all far right to the media and the government. There is no right wing. Now, you know who's right wing now? You know who's a real good, true conservative from the anti-war left, the Green Party progressiveite, left wingers. You know who's a real right wing conservative, not a far right wing conservative these days? Dick Cheney. Dick Cheney. They love Dick Cheney. They love Dick. So, Quest Fanning says, JFK had one of those faces, just so shootable. Quest!
How dare you!
We've got so much great stuff, though. Lots of white pills out there. Like, let's stop taking these black pills, guys. Argentina's Javier Milei criticizes Leviathan and the United Nations to their face, pledges agenda of freedom. Oh, my God. That is so good. And I'm reading the Wall Street Journal article, front page. Argentina scrapped its rent controls. Now the market is thriving. Oh, my God. You think that's exciting? Elon Musk set to invest in Argentina. That's it. Ugh. Gotta change my pants. I have sharted. Well, the Wake Up America show is brought to you by the support of viewers and listeners like you. Clicking that like button and click that like button and come back and join us 5 days a week, Monday through Friday, 7 to 9 a.m. Central Time. We'd be really glad to have you be a regular guest. And if you're joining us on any platform other than Rumble, you should be at rumble.com/AP for Liberty. You can text the show at 573-319-1586. That's 573-319-1586 is the text line. Also, just in like gossip, I saw the Prime Minister of Italy, Giorgia Meloni, had this photograph of Elon. I don't know if I can find it, because what I had pulled up for her was not the article of her and Elon kind of making eyes at each other. She's Italian, so she's a beautiful woman. She's going to make eyes at like rich and powerful men, especially ones she actually admires, I think, like Elon Musk, right? But more important than that, here's the substance. Like, who cares about the gossip stuff? Here's Italian President Giorgia Meloni, who released a video explaining how leftist European political parties hold on to power in the face of election defeat after election defeat. Take a listen to this.
The president of Fratelli d'Italia, the political party of Italian conservatives. Governments have not been the outcome of what the citizen chose by voting, but rather have been the outcome of agreements often under the table between the same parties that were fighting each other in the electoral campaign. In these 10 years, the left, which has failed to win elections in Italy since as far back as 2006, has managed to stay in government almost all the time. For too many years in Italy, those who lost elections find themselves in government, achieving very bad results. We want Italy to return to being that great nation, dynamic and innovative, esteemed all over the world, that strongly contributed to European civilization. We are ready to launch a new season of stability, freedom, and prosperity for Italy, whether the left likes it or not.
And I'm loving all these right-wingers stepping up, man. We're finally getting some warriors. We were in the wilderness there for a long time, and we did not have many good fighters out there fighting for the people. And it's nice to see the Prime Minister of Italy, Giorgia Meloni, talking smack on the left. I'm just loving all these clips I've got from Donald Trump, where he's talking about manufacturing, and he's talking about Joe Biden on the beach, and he's talking about McDonald's and Kamala Harris, and it's hilarious. I'm not going to have time to be able to play it because I've got Aaron Sepulveda coming up here in just a couple minutes. We have almost unlocked the bonus content this morning, thanks to Gannon. We're so close to unlocking the bonus content, but it's not going to happen right away. So keep those Rumble Rant donations going. And during the break on commercials, visit forlibertyshop.com. That's our merchandise store. Get some delicious coffee over there. Or you can get like what Gannon got. He got a koozie that said, "The only good Fed is belt fed." Yes. Those are the kinds of items you can get, as well as a nice pair of sandals. Looks like Gannon. Oh, you shouldn't, man. You're going to look nice in those. We appreciate you very much for helping unlock that bonus content. Just a little ways to go, and you'll be able to watch our awesome bonus content instead of the commercials. But coming up next, the miracle of Argentina. Their rental market thriving. He goes to the United Nations. He tells them to bite his wieners. I make these up in real time, these transitions, right? I don't write these down. I don't have a staff here, so I'm making it up in real time. Sometimes it's a little lewd. We'll be right back with Aaron Sepulveda.
Haunted by high prices and big government? Don't be a ghost of your former self this Halloween. We've got shirts that'll keep the ghouls and the government off your back. Inflation's scarier than any haunted house. But hey, why not turn it into a costume? Or how about our spooky government shirt? Guaranteed to spook anyone who's afraid of too much power. But if you're feeling real edgy, nothing says Halloween like our Michael Myers No Lives Matter shirt. Cause when it comes to big government, we all get slashed. At forlibertyshop.com, we believe in freedom, not fear. So grab your libertarian Halloween gear before the government takes an extra bite out of your wallet. Or your candy. forlibertyshop.com. Let's make Halloween tax-free.
Hello, this is Barack Obama, and let me tell you why Austin Peterson stinks, and you should never pay attention to anything that he has to say. First of all, he's a libertarian, and we all know libertarians are idiots. They don't realize how important government is to everything that we do. I recently became aware that Austin has opened up a libertarian shop at apforlibertyshop.com. Now, I'm asking you as a personal favor to me that you never ever visit apforlibertyshop.com. With all of the great Liberty merchandise there, the last thing that we need to do is to get people spreading this message around the country, because then they might start thinking that they don't need government. And that's the last thing that good Democrats like us want. So if you love democracy, like me, and hate freedom, then don't visit AP for Liberty Shop. Like I said, whatever you do, do not visit apforlibertyshop.com. I'm Barack Obama, and I approve this message.
I would remind you that extremism in the defense of liberty is no vice.
It is better to settle these matters in the courts than on the streets, and new laws are needed at every level. But law alone cannot make men see right.
said that he will judge between the nations and will settle disputes for many peoples. They will beat their swords into plowshares and their spears into pruning hooks. Nation will not take up sword against nation, nor will they train for war anymore. This is what's happened mainly under the watch of the United Nations in its first few decades. That's why we're talking about an outstanding success in the history of nations that has been achieved by the United Nations, and it cannot be overlooked. Now, at some time, and as often happens with the majority of bureaucratic structures that are created by men,
it was Javier Milei at the United Nations. Good morning, Austin Peterson here. Welcome to the Wake Up America show. It's time to rise and freedom. And who's fighting for freedom harder anywhere else in the world? Anyone fighting harder than Javier Milei, who goes to the United Nations, quotes the Bible to their faces, calls out their international socialist agenda. Meanwhile, at home, it's nothing but net. The rental market is thriving thanks to his free market prescriptions. He gets a phone call from Elon Musk. Hey, I want to invest in Argentina. By the way, do you own any stocks in Argentina, guys? I mean, where do we go? What do we do? Is Argentina listed on the NASDAQ? You know what? Let's talk to an economist about that. Let's speak to Aaron Sepulveda joining us live this morning from Texas. Yeehaw! Good morning, Aaron.
Good morning, guys. Glad to be here with you guys.
Aaron, talk to me first about his epic speech that he gave at the United Nations. Ballsy. Not a lot of people have the nerve to get up, because he could have been nice and diplomatic, and, he wasn't necessarily like, shove the state up your ass, right? Which he can be sometimes, But still, I mean, he does the slow burn as he kind of pours acid over their heads. It's a thing of beauty, is it not?
Yeah, and this is kind of like the balance that you have to do. Same content that he used to yell about a couple of years ago, he's just bringing the same content, but since it's in a different situation, you just have to say with a different tone. And when it comes to politics, and that's an old saying in Mexican politics is about the form, not about the content. So you have to worry about the form on how you express the ideas, depending on the context. But the content, you can take it anywhere you want. Just make sure that you know where your audience is. And that's exactly what he's doing. He just told them off. Hey, we have this joke every time, so nothing happens on any context of nothing in any context of politics, and for some reason didn't happen anything. We're like, oh, that means was the UN in charge of this? Because they never do anything. So we always make the jokes that the UN, there's literally no reason why they exist at all. And he goes and criticizes them. The same critiques that you heard in the speech about they really don't do anything. At most, if at all, they promote some really bad ideas that and this is the important thing. Ideas that become trendy internationally, they're necessarily not rational. They're just trendy. Yeah. So also, I do recommend right-wingers in the United States to not take international politics that serious, because usually most and this is realistic, guys. Most people in power, and think about bureaucrats and university administrators and all the bureaucrats in general, they're there because they know how to follow trends. It doesn't mean they understand it. They just kind of play with it.
Right. They got big on TikTok, so they got a job in somebody's office, and then, they helped them to get 1 million views on TikTok or some shit,
Yeah, so
they did some kind of like gay dance for like the people of Botswana's aquaculture.
Whatever it is, just to get on the trends. And so what Milei, I think, did really well is about saying, look, we're against what the United Nations does and where he came out. And he was nice enough to say, we understand the intentions are good. And you always have to say, yeah, we understand the intentions are good. So, but this just doesn't work. You guys are just following a kind of like bastardized rambling socialistic, kind of post-Soviet socialistic notion of global integration through politics, not through economics. And that's the key part that he addressed. That is like the issues. We can actually be one world. All we have to do is to allow each other to trade with each other. We don't have to do anything else. We can take care of our countries. We can take care of our stuff. All we have to do is to allow people to trade, and we can be integrated without having to go through bureaucratic shenanigans and conferences about how to control people's lives and all that kind of nonsense.
We're all tired of it. We're all tired of it.
Bingo.
But the rubber hits the road in terms of a lot of people talk a big game about free markets and economics, right? Especially people here in the United States, right-wing Republicans. Oh, we got to protect liberty and we got to have limited government. Bull, you know what I mean? And then we see the Wall Street Journal front page yesterday. Argentina scrapped its rent controls. Now the market is thriving. Subheading, President Javier Milei's shock therapy yields lower rents overall, but some people feel squeezed. First of all, real quick, shock therapy. I love how whenever you don't take away people's money, it's shocking. It's it's shock therapy. When you were telling us what to do with everything in our lives and controlling everything. It's so I guess for some people who are not used to not being slaves, that would be shocking, Aaron.
Just so you guys know, the shock therapy, the wording comes in general, if I remember correctly, came from Friedman saying, guys, if you guys are going to end the inflation, you have to do it all at once. It's going to look like a shock, but the faster you do it, the quickly you get out of the problem. And then some leftists I can't remember the name of the lady. She was obsessed with everything she didn't like was neoliberalism.
Yes.
Can't
There's
remember
a lot
her name.
of those. That's common. Yeah. Everything I don't like is neoliberalism is a very common trope. Yeah.
That's how you know that opinion doesn't the rest of the opinion doesn't matter, because something wrong.
Yes. Well, it's like when we libertarians are like everything we don't like, that's neocon, and it's like not everything is neocon, guys. So, anyways, go ahead. Go ahead.
I've heard that before. So, there's a lot of people like that, and let me try to record. Okay, so I don't remember if it was in Wall Street Journal. No, it wasn't. Wall Street Journal is a little more friendly to the free markets, right? But this exact same story came out in other news outlets, and it was hilarious. They were looking everywhere. Like the Wall Street Journal is a little bit better. CNN, or I don't know who was it. It was hilarious to say, yeah, predictably prices went down, but some people kind of feel the squeeze. They were looking for a negative side on housing being cheaper. This is the media that is coming out. Yes, we understand prices are down. There's more supply, but and it's usually like people that renters themselves, because now some people in the renting market, the ones that already had all their caps, now they're getting squeezed because competition is getting their incomes lower, and we're like, that's exactly what we needed.
Excuse me. Sorry to interrupt, Aaron. And then I choked at the worst possible time. Hold a moment.
That's fine.
Excuse me. Let me just read from the Wall Street Journal piece so people can understand we set it up appropriately. Excuse me. For years, Argentina imposed one of the world's strictest rent control laws. It was meant to keep homes such as the stately Belle Epoque apartments of Buenos Aires affordable. But instead, officials here say rents soared. Now the country's new president, Javier Milei, has scrapped the rental law, along with most government price controls, in a fiscal experiment that he is conducting to revive South America's second biggest economy. Okay, so he scraps the rental law. He afueras the thing. He doesn't fix it, tinker around the edges, set a different cap, tinker with it, say, oh, well, we want to reform it, blah, 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 like a lot of right-wingers in the United States would think, well, we need to be the ones who set the rental price laws. We need to be the ones who set the prices and things like that. No, he does what we've been saying for years we need to do. He scraps the laws, and then what happens? The Argentine capital, Buenos Aires, rental market boom. Landlords are trying to get properties back in the market. Aaron, I guess my next question for you is, do you want to go in on an Airbnb in Buenos Aires?
Yes, of course. We do want to go right now. It's a great place to be. Things are getting better. Now, obviously, there's certain sections of the rental market. There will be people already had all of their properties rented, Now they're getting competition from the other properties that could not be rented under the laws, and they're crying about it. And as media usually does, they pay attention to those ones and not to the, think about it. They don't pay attention to the tenants. They're getting cheaper rates and more options.
Yeah, they don't
They
care.
focus on the
They
people
just
complaining
want to
about
squeeze them. Yeah, they're like, oh, all of a sudden I have to compete. It's like that all over in everything else where we have cronyism, Aaron. They don't want to allow the rest of these little guys to compete because they want to protect their prices.
Bingo. And that's the problem that the Argentine economy has lived through, let's say, from the 50s into last year. And
we do that with food. We do that with food here in the United States. There was a famous story in the 1980s of oranges that were left to rot in the fields because the farmers wanted to keep the price high. And some people were complaining. They were like, this is really good food. Why are you letting this get destroyed? You know, FDR did this in the 40s as well with like corn and wheat and stuff. And it's like, well, we want to keep the prices high. It's like, well, yeah, let people starve. Just don't let the prices go down because maybe 15 to 20 farmers who have all of the power and money and who are not small little, yokel mokels. I'm sure that many of these landlords in Buenos Aires, they're not just like, oh, I'm just a poor little landlord. Oh, no. They're like, they're the big guys.
Exactly. You said the ones that already have the permits, the ones that already have the logistics done. You switch that to those guys, and they're gonna go out and cry out loud. A good story for you guys to learn, to research, because it's just amazing for all those that love bacon. In the 30s, I'm sorry. In the 30s, it was a mandate to kill and bury 50,000 pigs so that the price of pigs would go up and return to prosperity. I'm kidding you not. This is for real. Highly recommended book if you guys like a little more sophistication. He discusses this. Dr. Lawrence White, The Clash of Economic Ideas. This Larry. Is the key. There you go. This is the key passage that tells you what was going on with the New Deal. The New Deal had very good intentions. This is just what Milei is fighting against. And that's why some people say, like, what is Argentina? It's like the New Deal on steroids. That's what.
Yes,
that's all.
And they were starving. They were running for the exits when Javier Milei came along. We're just thankful and lucky that he won down there. Hey, don't touch the bombilla. Good morning, everyone. If you're just tuning into the Wake Up America show, I'm Austin Peterson. We're glad and thankful to have you here on our show talking about Javier Milei. It's fitting that Aaron Sepulveda, who's joining us live right now, is enjoying what looks to be a delicious cup of yerba mate. Nice Argentine tea. Argentine or Argentine? What do you say, Aaron?
Both. I say Argentine because I like how it sounds better, but they use both.
Argentinian is like considered a faux pas, but some people do use it. And then I've seen people defend the use of Argentinian.
It gets very complicated, but they all sound good to me. If you ask me, like I just say Argentine, everyone follows that one.
I like that one. It just feels a little more clean. Argentinian. Exactly. Yeah, not quite the same. We're speaking about the miraculous Javier Milei. And in the context of foreign policy, you say, Aaron, that it doesn't matter, but American libertarians are obsessed with foreign policy.
Will we repeat that?
I said, okay. You say foreign policy, you say don't pay much attention to international politics, right? American libertarians are obsessed with foreign affairs. Despite the whole non-interventionist rhetoric, they are interested in foreign affairs. And we are sort of like, I don't know, we're kind of on riding the short bus here in the United States. We're the American libertarian movement compared to what's happening in Argentina and like the robustness of the Libertad Avanza of Argentina is embarrassing to us here. And we have our Libertarian Party here in the United States. It's like it's this gimpy little runt party with no power. We have no respect in either academia or in politics. And yet the attitudes and arrogance and swagger of American libertarians definitely does not match. It's not Javier Milei level. It's not big swinging dick energy. It's little tiny, wee with a loud mouth attached to it. Aaron, is any of that ringing a bell or arousing your interest?
It's just it's because when you said the robustness of the movement, that caught my attention because that's exactly what I felt. Because they address cultural issues, they address economics, they the whole movement, and Milei has been the one leading this. It's okay to address international. If you ask me, it's okay to address it. The problem is that there are heavy limits on the information. As I told you guys long ago, I used to study international relations. That used to be my major was not economics. My major wasn't, and I noticed that the amount of information to make proper predictions and proper predictions or proper comments about international politics, it's very limited. You have to be wild guessing what international actors are gonna do. Like the Putin thing, I remember like everyone thought, oh no, he's just gonna invade, and everyone thought it's only gonna invade a little portion, like he did with Chechnya, whatever, and then boom, he just invaded everything. Because there's no way to know those kinds of things, those kind of
it's
details.
Very complex, but that's never going to stop anyone from having an opinion on things like that, Aaron. But I mean, but we can take example from what Javier Milei is doing. I mean, this is the grand experiment, Aaron.
Yes.
And I don't think that we can't put all of our eggs in one basket when it comes to Argentina. I know, and we got to talk about Javier Milei and Elon Musk before you go for sure. But in some sense, he kind of really is extremely important for what we believe in terms of the globe and in terms of what happens here in the United States. We needed this example, right? This is like the petri dish, if you will. It's it's the back, where you do experiments, and it is the ultimate experiment, right? On a grand level, a president of one of the largest countries in the world is a literal anarcho-capitalist in the streets and minarchist in the sheets. So we have to pin a lot of hopes on it, but he has to get reelected. And Elon Musk seems to be willing to take the risk. He's going to invest in Argentina. I mean, this could mean big things because of are there lithium deposits in Argentina?
That's my guess. No, there's tons of lithium that hasn't been taken advantage of as it should.
Big for Tesla. That's big for Tesla.
Now there you go. So now the tricky part there and I think Elon Musk did it exactly as he should have. He said we're actively looking for opportunities to invest in Argentina because he already has commitments, and the commitments are not trivial. It has to do with logistics. For example, just so you guys know, my parents are from northern Mexico, Monterrey. It's the most industrial, like the big industrial city of Mexico. And Elon Musk wanted to put one of the big assembly lines, assembly factories in Monterrey for Latin America because it's really close to Texas. Give me 1 second. I have one. I'll be back 5 seconds. Okay, give me a second.
Okay, yeah, go ahead, Aaron. Yeah, if you're just tuning into the Wake Up America show, good morning. I'm your host, Austin Peterson. We're glad and thankful to have you here. Sometimes you get a little choked up. You got to get some water or things like that. He's drinking some delicious yerba mate over there. My friend Aaron Sepulveda, who's joining us now, he is an economist discussing the epic wins of Javier Milei, not just economically, but in his appearance at the United Nations this past week, where he did sort of what he did at the World Economic Forum, told them off to their faces and condemned international socialism. Hey. It's okay, Aaron. Did you want to finish your thoughts on Elon Musk's investment into Argentina? You were talking about how non-trivial the logistics of bringing lithium and other rare earths and important materials for Tesla's batteries.
Yeah, one of the reasons why Mexico is such a big deal for pretty much every investor in the United States, it's because it is really close. There are certain areas on the north that are very similar to Texas economy. So you invest in North Texas, is super close to United States. North Mexico, super close to United States, and the environment, the business environment is very similar to Texas. Low taxes, the local businesses, local governments don't get as much involved. There are other problems, but you guys get the point. So, but if he was gonna, Musk was gonna open an assembly line in northern Mexico, but he postponed it. The what?
Elon Musk was going to open up a plant in Monterrey, Mexico. You said to connect with Argentina.
No. This is just for the just to start selling all throughout Latin America. Assembly line in northern Mexico, and then sell to all of Latin America. And he has that commitment. And some of the odd things is that he had to postpone some of that investment because the federal government of Mexico got involved, and that immediately how to say give like red lights to say, wait a minute, these guys are gonna. It was sometimes even silly stuff like, no, yeah, oh, can you guys please invest in the South? You know, the South is less industrial, and then for Elon Musk was like, I just need an assembly line right here. I mean, I'm not trying to like solve all the problems.
They're trying to
in the
centrally
world.
plan again what Elon Musk needs to be, the decider of where he wants to, put his supply lines. So Aaron, we're running out of time here at the end, and I do want to make sure that we give you an opportunity to plug anything that you'd like to plug. But one last question here, big picture. What do you think Javier Milei means to the freedom movement writ large in terms of the importance of the role that he plays in the fight against international socialism?
His leadership in general, my rule of life is, what is life about? I teach you, and what is teaching about? It's about leadership. That's it. Do people trust you, and do they follow you? They'll trust you. They'll just not just believe your ideas. They will implement your ideas. We have to be leaders of people that are libertarians and people that are not libertarians and people that don't care about politics. And that's what he's doing. Because of his personality, he got a bunch of people that never care about politics to follow him simply because they trust him because of his personality. So we need to learn to actually be leaders of people. The theory is great. I love libertarian theory, but we need to understand human nature. And this is just and I don't know if he probably followed Hayek, some of Hayek's advice. Hayek was very heavy follower of Edmund Burke. One of the key insights of Edmund Burke, as a pragmatic as he was we need to address human nature, which means reason and theory is a portion of that.
Correct. And we also
have the rest.
To summarize that all up, Aaron, and I'm sorry to cut you off, it's that this idea that no battle plan survives contact with the enemy, right? Or as Mike Tyson might have said, every man has a plan until he gets punched in the face. So even our brilliant, beautiful theories and white papers of economic liberty and freedom still has to survive contact with the enemy, and also get along with people who maybe don't agree with us completely on everything. Aaron, we got to run. Where can people find out more about your work online, sir?
Easy. Go to Twitter, Aaron Sepulveda C, and I pretty much post everything. I have a blog, but usually when I put something on the blog, I put it on Twitter. So just follow me on Twitter, and it's great to interact with you guys. There you go,
Aaron Sepulveda. We appreciate you. Thanks for all of that. And we appreciate that you cover the Javier Milei beat for us here on the show. Have a great day.
Blessings.
We will seriously expedite environmental approvals, and we will get everything approved quickly to unleash mineral production and rare earth. They think we have to go to China for rare earth. We don't. We have more rare earth than they do, but it's protected environmentally. We can't do anything about it. We're going to do something about it. We're going to use our resources to our benefit. And it'll be clean and environmentally perfect so that Americans can manufacture everything that we need, the resources we have right here. American soil, it's got everything. It's got the rare earth, it's got the oil, it's got the gas. We have everything. The only thing we don't have is smart people leading our country.
Yes. I got a clip for that. Hold on. Here it is.
From now on, it's going to be America first, okay? America first.
Love it. Love it. Love it. Thank you, Mr. President. Hopefully, Mr. President, again. Yes. JJ4884 in the chat says, is RFK yelling at Trump for rare earth production? That's a great question. I don't know. Let's just keep RFK Jr. away from those kinds of decisions and help him make America healthy again. Talk to us about how to get jacked in your old age. Have him go to around to the senior citizens' homes and let them grab his muscles and stuff like that. And the old ladies would be like, oh, RFK Jr., oh, you're so sexy. Apparently a lot of young ladies doing that too. That reporter Olivia Nuzzi sending the lewds and nudes over to Robert F. Kennedy Jr. We'll put Robert F. Kennedy Jr. in charge of the Department of Lewds and Nudes. How's that? Just kidding. Just kidding. I'm glad RFK Jr. is on the team. But everybody gets roasted on the Wake Up America show. Judge Andrew Napolitano joins us live in 5 minutes to talk about Alex Jones's Infowars. Alex Jones's media platform and its assets will be sold off piece by piece in auctions this fall to help pay for the more than $1 billion that he owes relatives of victims of the Sandy Hook Elementary School shooting under an order that is expected to be approved by a federal judge soon. I have my own judge. His name is Judge Andrew Napolitano, and he's going to talk to us about this in less than 5 minutes. We've got bonus content for you because you unlocked it. Thank you to all of our supporters, Joni Rankin. Thank you to Gannon. And I saw someone else, was it Steelbringer, donated a little bit earlier, but I missed it. There it is. Quest Fanning and others. Thank you for supporting the Wake Up America show. We'll be right back with the judge to talk about the decision by the judge. Judgeception.
Unlocking today's Wake Up America show bonus content. Your financial support helps keep our show on the air and provides us the ability to invest, grow, and feed our families. Today's story: will cutting the BAC limit to 0.05 really make our roads safer? In the 1980s and 90s, efforts to reduce the legal blood alcohol content BAC limit gained momentum. Mothers Against Drunk Driving, MAD, was formed in 1980, and by 2000, President Bill Clinton signed into law a nationwide 0.08 BAC limit, linking it to federal highway funds. Drunk driving rates have significantly decreased since the early 1980s, dropping by about half, according to the National Institutes of Health. Despite these improvements, there's now a push to further lower the permissible BAC level for driving, sparking renewed debate. The World Health Organization's 2024 report highlighted that most countries have adopted a 0.05 or lower BAC legal limit. Media outlets like the New York Times and National Geographic noted that the U.S. seemed to be lagging behind in this regard. Advocates for the lower limit argue that research shows alcohol impairment begins at lower BAC levels than 0.08. They believe that lowering the legal limit would reduce crashes and save lives, citing studies suggesting an 11% reduction in alcohol-related crashes. Utah became the first state to adopt a 0.05 BAC limit in 2018, serving as a critical test case for this policy change. The WHO referenced a 2022 NHTSA study that reported a dramatic 20% reduction in drunk driving deaths in Utah following the law change. However, this isn't the whole picture. The NHTSA study only included data from 2019, the first year the 0.05 law was in effect. While drunk driving deaths initially fell to 27, they surged back to 48 in 2020, 61 in 2021, and reached a record 69 in 2022. Despite these figures, many media reports, including those from the New York Times and National Geographic, did not mention the post-2019 data from Utah. This omission skews the perception of the law's effectiveness. Local Salt Lake Tribune columnist Robert Gerke highlighted the truth. In the 4 years since the law took effect, 187 people died in alcohol-related crashes, a 20% increase from before the law was enacted. The law's ineffectiveness lies in its failure to target the real issue: drivers who consume alcohol well beyond any legal limit. Half of all drunk drivers involved in fatal crashes have BAC levels of 0.15 or higher, while only 16% have BAC levels under 0.08. The worst offenders are often repeat offenders. In Utah, about 30% of DUI arrestees have a prior arrest for drunk driving, and 10% have 2 or more arrests. This underscores the need for targeted interventions. Casual drinkers who might have a couple of glasses of wine with dinner aren't the main problem. The real danger comes from drivers who are far over the legal limit and are often repeat offenders, causing the majority of fatalities on the road. Even Candace Leitner, the founder of MAD, opposes the 0.05 BAC proposal, calling it impractical. She argues that arresting everyone at 0.05 would not effectively address the core issue of severe intoxication. Lowering the legal limit might save some lives, but it could come with significant costs, including more DUI arrests. If this approach is taken, penalties for those in the 0.05-0.07 range could be reduced or converted to civil fines. Ultimately, the goal is to reduce drunk driving deaths in America. However, this won't be achieved by ignoring the data and focusing on lowering the BAC limit without addressing the root causes of the problem.
Good morning, Rise and Freedom. I'm Austin Peterson, and you're watching and listening to the Wake Up America show on the For Liberty Network. From 2010 to 2012, I was an associate producer at the Fox Business Network for Judge Andrew Napolitano. That didn't come from overnight. You don't go from the cornfields of Peculiar, Missouri, and then become an associate producer for one of the biggest voices for libertarianism in the world overnight. It took years of reading his books, studying, standing like a crazy man on subways and reading Ron Paul books to people in the subway who thought I was insane. It took a lot of that weirdness, and then a little bit of finagling to make it happen, where you make it past the firing line, you get the interview, and you're waiting there in New York City at a bar across the street from News Corp. And you're sitting there waiting with somebody thinking to yourself, did you get the job? Did you get the job? Oh, God, it's your dream job. And sure enough, you get the job. And Judge Napolitano calls you into his office, and you get to be his associate producer. And for 2 years, I fought for freedom, and some of the hardest fighting I've ever fought. In many ways, harder than my presidential campaign and Senate campaign. Side by side, standing up for ideas that may not be always popular, but joining us now, Judge Andrew Napolitano, live, host of the Judging Freedom podcast. Judge, what's popular is not always what's right, is it?
Correct. And your recitation of your personal history is consistent with my memory as well. Those were great days for both of us. We had a great team of people with whom we worked. I mean, back to your question, however, that's why we have natural rights. That's why there are certain things that the public can't vote on. One of my favorite one-liners is John Stuart Mill, with whom I don't agree on everything, but I do on this. If all the world but one were of one opinion, the world would have no more right to silence the one than he, if he had the power, would have the right to silence the world, because certain things are just not majoritarian. They are not subject to the approval of our neighbors or the voters or the government. And among those is the freedom of speech.
Absolutely, Judge. And thank you for that absolutely perfect introduction to our discussion today, that many thousands of people are tuning in from all over the world right now to listen to your opinions on what is happening to Alex Jones, with the latest news that a judge has ordered his assets of Infowars to go up for auction. Your reaction, Judge?
In everywhere in the country except Connecticut, the expression of an opinion is absolutely protected, but they have the Alex Jones rule. They don't call it that, but that's what it is in Connecticut, whereby if you express an opinion and people are offended by that opinion, they can sue you. So if I am of the opinion that certain public events that the public accepts were in fact fraudulent, I should be able to say that, and that is effectively what Alex did. But because the injured parties were in a state with a system, judicial and law enforcement, that loathes Alex and everything he stands for, a court imposed a draconian financial penalty on him. They then took that judgment and docketed it in Texas, where Alex lives, works, and has assets. And now the courts in Texas are enabling the plaintiffs to seize those assets. What the courts in Texas are doing is merely enforcing judgments of the court in Connecticut. But the judgment is so profoundly contrary to First Amendment jurisprudence that the courts in Texas should refuse to take it up. Nevertheless, we have a system that's willing to bury Alex, and they won't succeed. They'll just force him to work under somebody else's name and using somebody else's assets while they seize what remains of his assets. But punishing someone for speech, which is what is happening to Alex, whether you agree with their speech or not, is about as un-American, violative of the natural right to think as you wish and say what you think and publish what you say, and profoundly contrary to the First Amendment as is imaginable.
So they destroy him financially. They force him to liquidate his assets. I know that there was talk about a ranch that he owned. So is there private property? How protected is he under the current law from losing his personal assets to
You
this?
know, I don't know the answer to that. I think that he is not a personal defendant, just a corporate defendant. So I don't think they can take his home. I also don't know what the law in Texas is. Florida is notorious for protecting the home. So if there is a judgment against you and you move to Florida and file bankruptcy, the bankruptcy court cannot touch your home. I don't know what the law is in Texas. I also don't know. There's something called conflicts of laws, where a judge in state A has to interpret and enforce the law in state B. So I don't know if the Texas federal bankruptcy judge is enforcing Texas law on what assets can be seized, or Connecticut law on what assets can be seized, because the judgment against Alex was issued by a judge and jury in Connecticut.
Judge, when you see what is happening to Alex Jones, does it send a shiver up your spine for your operation, my operation, and the way that you and I do business? Now, when I listen to you, Judge, the diligence for the fact you don't operate on the Alex Jones model, which involves a lot of supposition, and you don't make claims like this is a crisis actor, right, if you don't have some evidence for that, right? And when I watch your show, it's very foreign policy based, and so of course lots of that can be open to interpretation, but you have very powerful enemies, Judge. You've run in powerful circles for almost your entire adult career. I mean, your entire life. I mean, you went to Princeton, for God's sakes, Judge. I mean, you've always rubbed shoulders with people, with the muckety mucks. Do you ever fear for your operations? I mean, people have taken stabs at you and jabs at you.
Well,
I mean,
people have taken substantial shots at me, and they've had their effect. I don't really fear for it. I don't attack individuals other than, public officials who are generally immune from libel cases. Like I attack Anthony Blinken and Benjamin Netanyahu and Vladimir Zelensky. They're not going to sue me for defamation. If they did, my numbers would treble as a result of the lawsuit, no matter the outcome.
Were you on Zelensky's kill list?
I'm told that I am. I haven't actually seen it. Imagine him being welcomed into the White House and he's threatened to kill Americans. Well, imagine Netanyahu, who's slaughtered tens of thousands of innocents, being given a standing ovation in Congress. We just live in an absolutely insane world.
We do. And that's why I'm surprised that
I don't have difficulty sleeping at night, if that's what you mean.
Yeah,
you have difficulty sleeping at night because of the baby in your household, not because of fear of your enemies.
Correct. Yes. No, I'm not afraid, but I do wonder when I see things like what's happening to Alex Jones, considering that our operations run in very similar ways. But talk to me about the liquidation of assets. They can't shut him up. I mean, he can go and get a laptop and stream a webcam, just get more. They're basically, what are they doing? Just making him sell all of his equipment in his studios? His fans won't care. He could have a cell phone camera and
Agreed. Well, he can go work on the Alex Jones show owned by somebody else. His father, who's a person of substantial financial means, could very well open something up. I mean, bankruptcy doesn't extend forever. It only, as I understand it, extends to the assets that you have at the time you file. It's not like every dollar that he earns in the future, these people can seize. He has the right to earn a living as much as he can, and spend his own money as he sees fit. And again, I don't know if this is against him personally or just against his corporation. I mean, honestly, part of Alex's problems is because, and I'm a fan of his, and I've been on the show and he's been on mine. We've been friends for 15 years, maybe 20 years. I don't think he took the case seriously enough when it was first filed. And it put a really bad taste in the mouth of the judge and everybody he was dealing with. The same thing happened with Giuliani. Rudy Giuliani has an absurdly large defamation judgment against him, $150 million, which is really ridiculous. There's no way whatever he said caused that much harm to the women that sued him. But his cavalier attitude about it, A, when it was being obtained, that is during the trial, and B, afterwards, is what has caused him a lot of his problems today.
What could he have done different, Judge?
Defend yourself with vigor, but do it within the rules of the system.
Well, what do you think he could have done differently in the beginning?
Alex or Rudy?
Oh, Alex.
Well, he could have taken it more seriously and hired serious First Amendment lawyers to make these arguments and get it out of a Pennsylvania court and into a federal court where there's a lot more sensitivity to First Amendment issues and a lot less deference to the needs of the locals. Judges, for example, in Connecticut are popularly elected. Federal judges are appointed for life, so they really don't care what the public thinks about what they do and say in their courtrooms. That's something that I would have done. You lose the right to do that. It's a very small window. That's got to be done very early on in the case. I don't know if the lawyers that he hired were even familiar with that. But I know generally the case. I don't know it well enough to second guess everything the lawyers have done. One of his lawyers, he had a number, did consult with me for a while on the First Amendment issues, sent me his materials to review. And in my view, they were perfectly fine and articulated the First Amendment issues very nicely. But this was long on in the case after the judgment had already been issued against him.
Judge, the importance of a good lawyer.
Yeah. But look, the Supreme Court is very clear. Satire, opinion, hate speech. I'll use Chris Wray's latest nonsensical phrase. That's the director of the FBI. Propaganda, Russian propaganda, whatever you want to call this category of speech. It is all absolutely protected, except in Connecticut.
It's a fascinating case. If you're just tuning into the Wake Up America show, good morning. I'm Austin Peterson. I'm speaking to my friend, Judge Andrew Napolitano. He's the host of the Judging Freedom podcast, and he writes a weekly column at judgenap.com. The judge and I have known each other for years, and he joins us every Wednesday at 8 a.m. Central Time to talk about issues of national importance. We're discussing the Alex Jones case in the context of free speech with a case with a $1 billion judgment rendered against the host of Infowars, and now the world is asking itself, what's next for Alex Jones? Now, Judge, he may go on and grab another operation and continue his operations. The chilling effect perhaps won't have an impact on people like yourself or people like myself. But what happens, what I have noticed, Judge, in terms of the social media censorship that people like yourself and myself face, because if you remember, in 2010 to 2012, I had turned your social media, online presence into like the premier presence. And then things changed once people like Mark Zuckerberg and others in big tech, once they realized that they were to blame for, they said, they admitted it, they were to blame for the election of Donald Trump in 2016. The relationship to these big tech platforms to people like us, you and I, changed dramatically. On a level playing field, Judge, you and I are some of the biggest voices on the internet. And now you're lucky you're getting to break out on YouTube. I don't know how long they're going to let you do that, I'll be honest, to have such a huge audience. But it's different, Judge, because now we've seen that big tech colludes with government. It would be a libertarian case of it's a private company and it can do what it wants, right? But, we had this big discussion in 2016, me and Gary Johnson, about bake the cake, you must be forced to bake the cake. I can see a circumstance where, under the circumstances, if the government is colluding with the big tech platforms, and they shouldn't be, that they don't have a right to censor or suppress people like yourself or myself if they're doing at the bidding of the government. Judge, what's your response to that?
That's a great observation. And big tech will be cooking its own goose. First of all, big tech can tell the feds to go take a hike. Much of big tech is unregulated. So the feds can make any kind of threat they want. Record the threat, Mark, I'm talking to Zuckerberg now, and publish the recording of what FBI agents or DHS agents say to you or to your employees. But there's a doctrine known as state action. Now watch my hands. State action is when the government and a private actor are in a symbiotic relationship. So each benefits the other to the point where you don't know, an outside person doesn't know if I'm complying with a direction from a private company or from the government. When that happens, there are many, many cases standing for this proposition, then the courts will visit the Bill of Rights restraints on the government onto the private actor, meaning as the government cannot evaluate the content of speech, theoretically, you read my column, then a private actor can't evaluate the content of speech. And just as the post office couldn't throw me out because of what I'm wearing on my t-shirt, Facebook or Google couldn't silence me because they don't like my speech if the courts were to impose the state action doctrine on them. How close are they? Very, very, three verys, very close. Now, that is not a libertarian thing for the private actor to lose control of his own property, but it is his own fault because he invited the government onto his property and they effectively took it over.
I don't see Mark Zuckerberg as being as patriotic as maybe we would hope in turning over the information that the government comes and asks him. If it were Elon Musk, I think in a moment, in a heartbeat, he would do it because he has. He showed with Matt Taibbi and the Twitter files, and Matt Taibbi apparently got an IRS audit over it, that he would turn over that information. But we don't know how much YouTube, Google, I mean, Judge, you and I, we can suspect what Google and YouTube thinks of people like yourself and myself. And your show, Judging Freedom, is wildly successful and popular on YouTube. But I think that the guillotine is hanging above your head every day, Judge, there. At the end of the day, if the government is working with YouTube, I don't think that they have a right to censor you or to suppress you, Judge. If under the circumstances that I think we're operating under, YouTube is not a private company that should be able to do it at once in regards to suppressing the speech of libertarians like yourself. Is that reasonable, unreasonable?
Well, there is litigation out there, and I believe that the Attorney General of Missouri, who just murdered an innocent man yesterday, but it's another story for another time, is one of the lead plaintiffs in the case. I have not seen the discovery. The discovery would be enough to fill part of a good chunk of the Library of Congress. There'd be so much material there. But it's a fact-sensitive issue as to whether the government, my hands again, and the private actor are in a symbiotic relationship. The classic case is a coffee shop in a parking garage owned by a city. The city owns the parking garage. The city sets the rates. The money you're paying to park in the garage goes to the city. The coffee shop discriminates against people on the basis of race. This is a 1960 case. It's a true case called Burton versus Wilmington Parking Authority. That's the state action case because people came to the parking garage in order to patronize the coffee shop, and because people patronized the coffee shop and parked in the parking garage, there was a symbiotic relationship between the city and the coffee shop, and therefore the restraints imposed by the 14th Amendment on the city would be imposed on the coffee shop. Now, that's the classic case. In big tech, it's not that clear, and it involves years of scrutiny, of discovery of what kind of communications there have been between the government and the private actor. Regrettably, the Supreme Court, my fellow Notre Damer, fellow Domer, as we call ourselves, on the court dissented. My fellow Princetonian, my former study mate and debate partner, did not. I'm talking of Justice Barrett, the Domer, Justice Alito, the Princetonian. The Supreme Court declined to hear a case involving whether or not this was state action when the private actor does the government's bidding. However, there is another case coming, and I think the Attorney General of Missouri might be one of the lead plaintiffs in it. There is another case that will make its way to the Supreme Court, which they will, I believe, accept and rule on the merits rather than just kicking the can down the road.
Judge, I would love it if you would share with our listeners the incredible story, and I think I'm going to butcher this name because, well, I'm not Italian, Judge. Oh, Judge, right. I was going to take a stab at it.
Well, how are you going to pronounce
I was going to say
Terminiello's name?
Well, I was going to say Terminiello.
Not bad. Not bad. Not bad.
With the hand, so you have to speak with the hands.
Right. Can your audience see us? Yes.
Yes, of course. Yes. Yeah.
Terminiello.
Terminiello.
So, Father Arthur Terminiello, this is 1946, was a priest of the Diocese of Chicago. And let's say he was a lot closer to Joe McCarthy than he was to Harry Truman, as a lot of Catholic priests were in those days. And he was invited to give a public speech at a hall in Chicago. And he gave the speech, and it was fire and brimstone, condemning Harry Truman, condemning Hiroshima and Nagasaki. And about 2/3 of the audience went there in order to be antagonized. They were supporters of Truman, and about 1/3 went there to be delighted by listening to him. Well, he really antagonized the audience, and it became obvious to the Chicago police who were there something's going to happen. So they told him to stop speaking. He told them to take a hike. The people in the audience that didn't like what he said stormed the audience, picked up chairs, destroyed the podium, smashed windows, injured cops. Not a single one of them was arrested. They arrested the priest because he didn't stop speaking. It's a perfect First Amendment case because he didn't stop speaking political speech when the police told him to stop. Convicted in a Chicago municipal court, upheld in an Illinois appellate court. Supreme Court of Illinois refuses to review the case. Supreme Court of the United States takes the case and rules. Very, very famous case. There's a chapter about this case in one of my books. Very famous case. Supreme Court rules that the First Amendment has primacy over safety, and it coins a phrase which you may not be familiar with called the heckler's veto. Yes. And it condemns the heckler's veto, the concept that the people in the audience, by their animosity towards the speaker, can silence the speaker, and somehow that's justified. And it says to the Chicago police and to all police, your duty is to protect free speech first and safety second. Free speech first and safety second. Justice Robert Jackson, the last member of the Supreme Court never to have graduated from law school, a former attorney general under FDR, the chief American prosecutor at Nuremberg, now back on the Supreme Court that Nuremberg is over with, authors a very, very famous dissent in which he says the Constitution is not a suicide pact. The book in which I wrote about this is called Suicide Pact. He was totally wrong on the law. His dissent is mimicked because of that interesting phrase, the Constitution is not a suicide pact. But The ruling in the case has been upheld countless times since then. Free speech first, safety second.
Free speech first, safety second. It's the motto, the mantra by which we live by. Judge Andrew Napolitano, the host of the incredibly popular Judging Freedom podcast, which I am told he will have our future Secretary of Defense under the next Trump administration on later today. Is that correct, Judge?
That is correct. At 2 o'clock Eastern, Colonel Douglas McGregor. At 3 o'clock Eastern, the great Phil Giraldi. How many CIA agents have a PhD in history from the University of Chicago? Answer one, Phil Giraldi.
Judge Andrew Napolitano.
Told George W. Bush Saddam Hussein didn't have any weapons of mass destruction. Bush threw him out and he resigned from the CIA. And my young friend, a brilliant and gifted journalist, Aaron Mate at 4. McGregor at 2, all times Eastern. Giraldi at 3, Mate at 4.
Judge, under the next Trump administration, when Colonel Douglas McGregor brings you to the Pentagon for a brief little tour, personal tour from the Secretary of Defense, which of the file folders, if you can get access to one, do you want the JFK folders? Do you want the Area 51 folders? Do you want the FDR notes, Pearl Harbor, Japanese destined to attack evidence? Which conspiracy do you want to unlock when McGregor takes over under Trump?
If Donald Trump is a man of his word, I won't have a choice. All those matters will be made public already before I get there.
Can I ask you some sort of a personal question, just real briefly? Would you be disappointed if you found out that Oswald was the lone gunman from the third floor depository and he fired 3 shots in that amount of time? Would you be disappointed if you found out that the Warren Commission was actually right?
And that the magic bullet was true?
Well, no, not the magic, not that one. There's no magic bullet, obviously, but because I saw the car he was sitting in at a raised platform. But would you be disappointed if Oswald was the guy? Lone gunman?
I would not be disappointed if the government's records show that.
Good to know. Judge, I love you. Thank you for humoring me. I love our conversations. This is big brain time. I learn something every time you're here, and especially when I read your weekly columns at judgenap.com and watch your show, Judging Freedom. Thank you, Judge, for your friendship.
I do about 20 of these a week. I'm counting my own. Yours is truly the most intellectually challenging and personally enjoyable for me. I wouldn't miss a Wednesday morning unless I were in Lake Como.
We love it, Judge. Thank you very much. Have a great day, Judge.
You too, my man. All the best. My best to your...
Thank you very much.
To hear that you did not agree with me that on this subject of what should be the rules around corporate responsibility for these big tech companies, when I called on Twitter to suspend Donald Trump's account, that you did not agree, and I would urge you to join me, because here we have Donald Trump, who has 65 million Twitter followers, and is using that platform as the president of the United States to openly intimidate witnesses, to threaten witnesses, to obstruct justice. And he and his account should be taken down. We saw in El Paso that shooter in his manifesto was informed by how Donald Trump uses that platform. And this is a matter of corporate responsibility. Twitter should be held accountable and shut down that site. It is a matter of safety and corporate accountability. Thank you.
Yeah, that could be the... get the scenes right. Your next president of the United States, ladies and gentlemen. I know. Calling for the shutting down of Twitter, calling for the censorship of the president of the United States. That was Kamala Harris during her presidential debates. Remember when Elizabeth Warren was running for president of the United States? What a joke. If you're just tuning into the Wake Up America show today and it's your first time, make sure that, hello, I'm Austin Peterson. Welcome to the show. Hope you enjoy the content. We'd love to have you be a regular guest, so make sure you click like and follow us here on Rumble. Also, want to remind you from my friends over at Rumble that it is National Preparedness Month. So at 4 Patriots, that's the number 4, we want to celebrate by bringing back this unbelievable buy one, get one deal on solar generators. Yeah, I'm going to get one. For a limited time, when you buy the powerful Patriot Power Generator 2000X, you get a mini generator for free. Awesome deal. you'll score 2 solar panels for free too. That's right, not 1, 2 solar panels come with this incredible buy one, get one deal sale on solar generators. So claim your power independence and free mini generator and free solar panels. Go to 4patriots.com. You got to hurry though, because you only have until midnight on September 30th to claim your free mini generator. So there's the button. You can see it right there in the Rumble chat right there. There's the QR code, 4patriots.com. Give them a visit right now. I got to get one of those because I need some kind of a solar power. You got to have at least one at your home. One solar power generator situation, and then a fossil fuel one as well. But 4patriots.com, they got a great deal going on. Visit them today, and thank you to Rumble for those live reads, because those really do help us to grow the Wake Up America show on the 4 Liberty Network. I'm so grateful to have 500 people watching us live on rumble.com this morning. Good morning, guys. Thank you, Rumble. Free speech, baby. We love it. And it's nice to see that for a brief moment until the Bitcoiners took over, I have to say we were number 1 over on X.com. That's people like Kamala Harris don't like it when AP for Liberty's voice is able to be heard. They want to shut down these platforms. They don't like Rumble. They don't like free speech. Kamala Harris wants to shut it down. Zionist Cuck just donated a couple of bucks, I think. What did he say? That's a hilarious name, by the way. How long after Trump gets in office will he be sending our kids to defend Israel that will start full-scale World War III? Womp womp. Zionist, did you wake up on the wrong side of the bed this morning? Well, even if you did, we're glad you're here on the Wake Up America show. If you're feeling black-pilled these days, Zionist cuck, then don't worry. We're going to make sure that we bring you to completion.
Do not come. Do not come.
Excuse me?
I'm going to come.
Completion of your white pill indoctrination. Oh, I always love that part at the very end there. Quest Fanning says that Kamala clearly prefers cheap speech. Yes. I'm glad you guys are having fun over the Rumble chat this morning. Sometimes I have to avoid reading it out loud because it's just so wild and weird and wacky. But I will put the chat up on the screen because we have no more guests for the rest of the show. It's just you and me. Just you and I, sharing our love together. We'll be your friend. Just you and I. Yes. So we beat the moon briefly over on X.com. We're number 2, I think, over there on X. Alex Jones's Infowars assets to be auctioned put us at the top of X.com this morning, guys. It's just rocking and rolling. So glad and grateful to have you guys watching the show. Some of you, I imagine, have no idea who the hell I am, and you have no idea what the hell this show is. You just ended up here by accident because it's at the top of your feeds. But FYI, this is a great place for you to get some information in the morning, hang out with a really positive, friendly, upbeat, optimistic, pro-America community, and have a good laugh, right? We engage in free speech on the Wake Up America show, and we try and also treat each other with respect. I know that politics is nasty, and certainly I'm from the libertarians, so they can be just very misanthropic, like, I hate everybody, right? But we try and be a little bit more white-pilled in here in the mornings. So if you've been kind of looking for a show where people are generally going to try and find silver linings in clouds. See, because for me, my daughter was born 2 months ago, my first child, beautiful little girl, and I'm invested in the future of this country. I have an interest in the outcome of the American Republic. I want to see what Javier Milei is doing to Argentina. We can please bring it to us here. Donate some of that libertarianism to the United States. Please, can you bless me with something?
Can you bless me with something?
Oh gosh.
Money-wise. Please.
Can you suck it?
Suck it?
What?
It's the Wake Up America show, and things can get weird. A little odd. A little strange. But we never cross the line into Kamala territory.
Okay, I can first.
We keep it all American.
From now on, it's going to be America first, okay? America first.
So if you like the content that you're seeing this morning and you're watching us, especially over on Rumble, then click the like and the follow button underneath the video so that you guys can hang out with us on the regs. And just a little bit of an update, the For Liberty Network am going to be announcing the launch date of the new shows on October the 1st. So it's the announcement of the announcement, right? So the For Liberty Network is our new Liberty Talk Show podcast network, and we've got two brand new shows that I'm producing coming very soon. We will announce the date of the new shows on October the 1st. We've got Culturama starring Daniela Pensack and Liberty Tonight starring Brian Piotr and the king of all libertarians. Can you believe that we were able to afford the king of all libertarians? I mean, this is America, damn
America
it, you know?
is a nation that can be defined in a single word.
Yes, Mr. President?
I was going to put him,
Okay. Oh, what? That's a single word. I prefer the views and the thoughts and feelings and opinions of this president, Mr. President.
Remember one other thing, and I think it's terrible. She lied about McDonald's. She said I was a worker in McDonald's. And I stood over the French fries. I'm going to a McDonald's over the next 2 weeks. And I'm going to stand over the French fries because I want to see what her job really wasn't like, because she never... I stood over the French fries, and that was tough. It was hot outside, and it was hot over. She never worked there. It was a lie.
She never worked there, though. It was a lie. It's the way he talks, too, is just so funny. It was a lie. Do you think he does that deliberately, or is that just kind of how he was raised? Because, I mean, I lived in Queens myself for like 5-6 years, and I don't remember people from Queens talking like that. So it's got to be deliberate, right? Or maybe it's just in the higher society that he ran in that I didn't, you know, riding my bicycle around Astoria down Steinway to Shotojuku Karate Dojo, which, speaking of Shotojuku Karate Dojo, tonight is my second night of teaching classes as your sensei. Yes. You're the best. Let's take a quick little break from politics here and just talk about some more fun stuff. As many of you know who are regulars, but of the new people you don't know, I just got my very first job as a Japanese karate instructor here in Jefferson City, Missouri. Bow to your sensei.
Bow to your sensei. Bow to your sensei.
Bow to your sensei. And since then, I had the opportunity to start teaching students what I really love, which is the history of Japanese martial arts, specifically the styles that I have trained, Shotokan and Kyokushin. Karate I get to teach on Wednesday nights, the adult class at 6:30 p.m. So not only am I a freedom fighter, but I'm also a martial arts guy, and I've been doing martial arts now for 20 years. Japanese karate I've been teaching and training. And I promised the audience that I would find this clip and share it with you, because I was only able to share a very brief second of it in this situation where you could see a little bit about closer to myself. I never record myself training, which I wish I had done over the years to show myself getting better. But I thought you all would find it interesting just to kind of see in real practice. And I won't call it a street fight per se, in the sense that they're really only sparring to an extent, but they're going hard. And at a local school in India, at a temple, which can, training Kyokushin karate at a temple is like, that's like peak Street Fighter energy right there. Dun 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 dun, right? But this young man decided that he would approach a school of Kyokushin fighters, and that is a black belt Kyokushin fighter, which if you have a black belt in I don't have a black belt in Kyokushin, but this guy here is a Kyokushin fighter black belt, I assume, and he is conditioned and trained badass. He's young and he's wearing a backwards cap. Never approach a Kyokushin fighter while he's training and challenge him to a fight like this gentleman did, especially if you have absolutely no training. You can already tell that he hasn't got any skills whatsoever. He decides to challenge a Kyokushin fighter on the street during their training. And let me just turn off the live chat there for a brief second so you can see it a little bit better. But on the right, you'll see someone who is one of my karate styles. And this is, it's a little bit more than...
Wax on, wax off.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Miyagi. Right, it's time to bow to your sensei.
Bow to your sensei.
And let's watch the ensuing. Well, yeah, we'll talk about it after it's over. It's over in 22 seconds. Dude, you're in such deep trouble. God, that is a beautiful kick. And like a good neighbor, State Farm is not there. But right here, you can see this Kyokushin fighter. Good man, goes to check on his opponent. Got a white belt, another black belt over here. So let's break it down. You got this guy throwing some kind of stupid kick that he saw in the fighter. He has absolutely no training, decided to spar with him. Now, Kyokushin Karate is characterized by its low kicks, which you can see right here, which not only are they extremely painful. You get kicked like that. I mean, I'm surprised that he was able to get back up after that. He would have hit the pavement, but there, look at that. Just a good, strong kick to the legs was enough to send this guy down, down to the ground, which he got himself back up immediately, which I think was a big mistake. Because that first kick should have told you right there that you're out of your element. Here you can see what we call a mawashi geri. You can see, and it's characterized by that high knee kick. Mae geri, not mawashi geri. Excuse me, I get my Japanese correct here. A mae geri, which is that leg gets chambered, it comes up to the front, and as he comes in, right, he comes in with that mae geri. It's like the least stylistic of the kicks right here, but it's the most effective. It's the only kick I've had to use in like the one like serious stand-up confrontation I've had as an adult. And then you could see, boom, that front kick right there knocks the wind out of him. He's not ready for this. Here comes the punch, and he's being polite by punching into the body, which we do train in Kyokushin. And then it's a flurry of punches. 1, 2, 3, and now the mawashi geri. See his left leg coming up, and boom, that roundhouse kick comes to the ribs. I guarantee you that he was already regretting it. The pain probably didn't have time to kick in, but look at him. This is a reverse. We call it reverse uro mawashi, and that is directly to the face right there. It's such a deceptive kick. It comes so quickly. You don't know what's happening as the guy's spinning around, and then boom, the heel comes right out to the head. And well done and polite to go and check on your opponent, make sure he's not hurt too much. So, hope you guys enjoyed it. Remember, even if win, you lose. Listen to Mr. Miyagi. Don't get into street fights and bow to your sensei. Thanks very much, guys, for watching and hanging out with me through that. That is a new segment I've created for the Wake Up America show, which is to highlight street fights, martial arts fights, and to talk to you a little bit about some self-defense protocols that you might encounter in a self-defense situation. And I will bring to you also videos of good self-defense, bad self-defense, good ideas, bad ideas on the Wake Up America show, because I'm not just a political commentator. I am also a Japanese karate instructor, and I'm also a scuba diver, something I'm really interested in. Drew Van Runkle on the chat says that the fungi is starting to kick in. It's a little early for those magic mushrooms, don't you think, Drew? Nah. We're libertarians. CNN's Harry Enton reports great news for Trump in swing states. Trump now leading Harris by 5 points in AZ, 4 points in Georgia. Take a listen.
Mean, and there is one man with the answer to that question, CNN senior data reporter Harry Enton. So, Harry, as I said, honestly, when we hear there's new polling from Georgia, North Carolina, Arizona, the viewers, they want to know what it means, what it says, and what you think about it. So what does it say, first of all?
Let's see if I can live up to the hype of this. All right. Look, you got a lot of red on the screen. This is pretty good news for Donald Trump. This is the Harris versus Trump margin, unrounded margin. Look at this. In Arizona, Donald Trump up 5. In Georgia, up 4, though no clear leader. North Carolina, a similar story. Donald Trump up 3, again, no clear leader. But you take it all together, in these 3 key battleground states, 2 of which Joe Biden carried 4 years ago, we see that Donald Trump is ahead, and by an average of 4 points, significantly better than he did back in 2020 across all of these states.
I am old enough to remember last Tuesday? Wednesday?
Yeah, it might have been.
When there was New York Times Siena battleground polling from Pennsylvania, Wisconsin, and Michigan that was all blue.
Yes, there was that polling from Pennsylvania. We had that other polling that essentially showed that Kamala Harris was doing very well in the Great Lakes. And this, to me, seems to be the increasing divide amongst these swing states. These are the averages in the polls, right? Take a look in the Great Lakes. Harris up 2. Wisconsin, Harris up 2. Pennsylvania, Harris up 2. Again, close races, but blue, not red. You jump over here with me to the Sun Belt battleground. Says you see a little blue at the top in Nevada, +1. We don't have any new polling from there. But you look at North Carolina, Trump up by less than a point. Arizona in the average, Trump up by 2. Georgia, Trump up by 2 in the average. So in the Sun Belt battlegrounds, more red than blue, predominantly red. In the Great Lake battlegrounds, predominantly, in fact, all blue. And this is going to be the divide I'm going to be looking at going forward, which is...
We got to get Pennsylvania. We got to get Pennsylvania. We got to get Pennsylvania. Thank God Cliff Maloney's out there rounding them up in Pennsylvania. If we win Pennsylvania, I think that we probably will win the election. If today's your first time watching the Wake Up America show and you enjoy this content, make sure that you do click that follow button. You can text the Wake Up America show, and it goes straight to me. 573-319-1586 is the text line. Again, 573-319-1586 is the text line. So if you would like to get in contact with me, if you would like to potentially advertise your product here on the Wake Up America show, you can get in contact with me so easily at that number you see on the bottom of your screen, 573-319-1586.
Do you think Biden lies awake at night thinking how we're going to get Europe to pay? No, he goes to sleep. Here's a guy can sleep on the beach. How do you sleep on the beach when you have cameras on? I will never sleep on the beach in front of live television, I promise.
You know, just think about that. Honestly, it seems like just something that's funny. I will never sleep on the beach in front of live television. Like, there's something profound to that, isn't there? That the idea that, you know, you're the president of the United States, like, have some dignity. Like, I get it. You could go to the beach, right? Hang out on the beach, and, you know, you got to be shirtless if you're going in the ocean. And you know, not everybody's going to be, you know, plum cherry when they're 80 years old running for president of the United States. I get it, but video after video of live video of Joe Biden just sitting there sleeping shirtless on the beach. You never see Donald Trump shirtless on the beach sleeping. And I think that it's kind of a metaphor, right? It's for their, first of all, the Joe Biden presidency and what he's doing and or not doing, right? Which in some sense, there's the argument there of like, maybe it's better off that the Joe Biden is sleeping, but then you're worried about who's actually controlling the strings, who actually runs this country. I think I know what Zionist cuck over in the chat thinks who runs this country, right? You know?
Okay, I can first.
I kid. The Wake Up America show is a place for people who care about economic freedom and personal liberty. I'm a libertarian Republican, which makes me small L libertarian, not a party libertarian, but someone who believes in the principles of liberty and in the American Republic. And the Wake Up America show is a 5-day-a-week love letter to American liberty. And if you love these principles in this country like I do, then you are in the right place. And you should become a member of our community here at the Wake Up America show and come back and join us again tomorrow. I'm always cooking up I'm always cooking up something special for our audience. I mean, every day I produce bonus content that's part of our monetization program. It's been a huge success for people who don't want to watch commercials, and they can see stories that you may not have heard in other areas of the news that I bring to you through the bonus content program. We also interview some of the best guests that you can find anywhere. Judge Andrew Napolitano this morning to talk about the Alex Jones Sandy Hook case and the plight of Infowars and defend free speech and economic liberty. But we're also expanding the Wake Up America show into a full-blown network. So me, Austin Peterson, and my wife, Stephanie Peterson, have pledged our lives, our fortunes, and our sacred honor to defend the principles of liberty and and my career to try and grow liberty and freedom and capitalization of the United States. As a matter of fact, there's this one clip that Donald Trump was saying yesterday that really inspired me as to part of what we're fighting for and the possibilities that lie ahead for the United States. Take a listen to this.
We're going to use our resources to our benefit. And it'll be clean and environmentally perfect, so that American and Americans can manufacture everything that we need, the resources we have right here. American soil, it's got everything. It's got the rare earth, it's got the oil, it's got the gas. We have everything. The only thing we don't have is smart people leading our country.
You think about it, Elon Musk coming in, working with Donald Trump, setting up a government efficiency commission. Think about all of the possibilities of the United States. And I love how Trump articulates this. The United States is a wealthy nation, but I don't even think we've reached 1/5 of the potential of our nation. I don't think that we're even operating at 1/5 of the potential wealth and productive capacity that the people of the United States are capable of if we didn't have this millstone around our neck. Freedom first, safety later. Andy Opperman, thank you very much. Thank you for your financial support, Andy. It's critical to helping us to grow this network. But without the ingenuity of the American people, we would have been lost long ago. Think about what happens if you've ever been a business owner or operated at a high level to some degree, had employees and had to pay payroll taxes. I can tell you that it's a frightening thing. I have to do payroll today for my one part-time staffer, and I've got a baby to feed who needs very expensive formula for, and it's very difficult. And I think about other entrepreneurs who are out there like me. Not everybody's Elon Musk, and sort of the risks that they take. And if Americans weren't willing to take the risks to be businessmen and businesswomen, to be capitalists, right, is to take risks. I remember when Arnold Schwarzenegger did the introduction to Milton Friedman's Free to Choose, he told the story about growing up in Austria and how his friends were always thinking about their futures in context of getting a government check when they would get their pensions or their salaries or what have you. But he was like, I had to go to the United States of America so that I could engage in capitalism and own a business and achieve incredible things, because that's what the United States is for. That's why we exist. We settled here in the United States as colonists and created this great nation. My ancestors predate the United States. My ancestors on my mother's side, the Wade family, I've seen grave markings in like Kentucky or Tennessee from like the early 1700s. My middle name is Wade, and the name on that grave is Wade. The French who came and settled in the United States eventually came and married the Petersons, and here I am, Austin Wade Peterson. Nice to see you, freedom fighter extraordinaire, Japanese karate instructor. And the greatness of America lies in our wealth. Our wealth is powerful. This is why the left wants to take it from us. They want to take away our power. They want to make us poor so that they can control us. When you are impoverished, you are easy to control. I don't remember the quote. It might have been from John Steinbeck. It might have been from someone else, but they were like, it was from a left liberal or a socialist who was complaining about the United States to other socialists, saying that the reason why America will never be a socialist country is because they do not see themselves as an exploited proletariat, but as temporarily embarrassed millionaires. Do you get it? So Americans, we don't feel jealousy about other people's success, but if we do, we let our envy drive us to compete and to make a better widget or wheel or fire, what have you, and better lighter, a better solar powered generator. And we build our economy on the backs of capitalists who take risks. I'll tell you, it's not to say, it's like never having given birth to a child in some extent, right? You kind of have to do it to really know. I'm not going to give a pregnant woman a lecture on the first trimester and, what you can expect, right? And, even if I was a vagina doctor, which I'm not, but even it's kind of like sus to some extent. You could only really explain it through the outsider details. But if you've never signed a payroll check or made that IRS payment, and then there's the mandatory workers' comp that comes out on top of it, right? And then the employees getting ripped off because the government's taking FICA 2 out of theirs, and you've never signed that paycheck, I can tell you that you can't know that feeling of dread that comes with making payroll every 2 weeks with the government boot on your throat. Because I'll tell you this, if the United States ever got the boot off of its throat, if half of everything that I had was not taken from me every year, and every quarter I didn't have to write a check to the federal government and to the state government of Missouri, the things that I could do with that, the things that I could accomplish, the commanding heights that I could reach would know no bounds. What a beautiful show today. I think today was unbelievable. I mean, for a very brief period, we were number 1 on X. I think there's over 2,000 people watching us over on X. So for a brief moment, we were number 1 over on X this morning. There's this huge guy, Mario Nawfal, who is streaming in the United Nations. And then right behind me is Graham Allen, who has like millions of Instagram followers, hundreds and hundreds of thousands of people who follow him on X, way bigger than me. And he's right below me at 1,600 viewers. So I'm not saying that to brag, but just to say thank you. And it's amazing what we can do here with just me and you and, a couple of friends here and there helping out, spread the word. So help out, spread the word. Click the like button and follow the channel at rumble.com/AP for Liberty. So this is going to be the launch of a brand new network. I will announce the dates of the new shows on October the 1st. You're going to want to come back next Tuesday and hear it. I'm really excited to be able to present to you 2 brand new shows that I have produced that are 2 new live shows that will be the culmination of a network, a new Liberty network. And if you'd like to be a part of this capitalistic entrepreneurial venture, we'd love to have your support. So click like and subscribe. It's totally free, or become a monthly subscriber to the show. WakeUpAmericaShow.com/support. Hell, let's increase the size of our base budget so that I know every month what I can afford, what I can do, how many new shows I can produce, how much more freedom fighting I can afford each month. And of course, I am forced to pay the IRS, but only on threat of death, because if I resist, they'll kill me. Otherwise, down with the IRS and up with Donald Trump and the MAGA movement. What say you? Come back tomorrow, 7 a.m. Central Time. It's Thursday, Thirsty Thursday. I mean, it's hot libertarian women. What can you do? It's beautiful. It's delicious. We love them. Our lovely ladies of liberty. They grace us with their presence. Daniela Pensack, host of the new Culturama show, and Camelia Peterson, whose arm I have not been able to twist hard enough to give her own show.
How dare you?
Come on, Camelia.
Go first.
Thank you to everyone in the chat for being a total mensch. All of our sponsors, that being nobody right now, other than our friends over at rumble.com who hook us up with some incredible live reads. Rumble has been helping us to make it happen. Seriously, without Rumble, we would be in a much different place as well. When we got censored on YouTube, we lost our monetization. We didn't really have a lot of options. So Rumble called, hey, here's a locals page. We'll get you set up. They'll introduce you to new people. Here, there's 550 people here live on rumble.com. What's going on, guys? How are you doing? Can you come back here tomorrow? Do you want to hang out? I know the chat got a little nasty and a little gross, but typically the moderators will step in and take care of that. Nudge, nudge, wink, wink. Maybe I need some more moderators. But typically we like to take the white pill here. We believe in America. We believe in the dynamism of the American people and our entrepreneurial spirit, which is what we embody here on this show. As you exit through the Griff Shop. 4libertyshop.com. That's the number 4libertyshop.com. Get yourself a cool Halloween item or a box of Founding Flavors coffee, and we'll see you right back here tomorrow where we'll rise in freedom on the Wake Up America show on the 4 Liberty Network. Goodbye, guys.
Unlocking today's Wake Up America show bonus content. Your financial support helps keep our show on the air and provides us the ability to invest, grow, and feed our families. Today's story, will cutting the BAC limit to 0.05 really make our roads safer? In the 1980s and 90s, efforts to reduce the legal blood alcohol content BAC limit gained momentum. Mothers Against Drunk Driving, MAD, was formed in 1980, and by 2000, President Bill Clinton signed into law a nationwide 0.08 BAC limit linking it to federal highway funds. Drunk driving rates have significantly decreased since the early 1980s, dropping by about half, according to the National Institutes of Health. Despite these improvements, there's now a push to further lower the permissible BSE level for driving, sparking renewed debate. The World Health Organization's 2024 report highlighted that most countries have adopted a 0.05 or lower BAC legal limit. Media outlets like the New York Times and National Geographic noted that the U.S. seemed to be lagging behind in this regard. Advocates for the lower limit argue that research shows alcohol impairment begins at lower BAC levels than 0.08. They believe that lowering the legal limit would reduce crashes and save lives, citing studies suggesting an 11% reduction in alcohol-related crashes. Utah became the first state to adopt a 0.05 BAC limit in 2018, serving as a critical test case for this policy change. The WHO referenced a 2022 NHTSA study that reported a dramatic 20% reduction in drunk driving deaths in Utah following the law change. However, this isn't the whole picture. The NHTSA study only included data from 2019, the first year the 0.05 law was in effect. While drunk driving deaths initially fell to 27, they surged back to 48 in 2020, 61 in 2021, and reached a record 69 in 2022. Despite these figures, many media reports, including those from the New York Times and National Geographic, did not mention the post-2019 data from Utah. This omission skews the perception of the law's effectiveness. Local Salt Lake Tribune columnist Robert Gerke highlighted the truth. In the 4 years since the law took effect, 187 people died in alcohol-related crashes, a 20% increase from before the law was enacted. The law's ineffectiveness lies in its failure to target the real issue, drivers who consume alcohol well beyond any legal limit. Half of all drunk drivers involved in fatal crashes have BAC levels of 0.15 or higher, while only 16% have BAC levels under 0.08. The worst offenders are often repeat offenders. In Utah, about 30% of DUI arrestees have a prior arrest for drunk driving, and 10% have 2 or more arrests. This underscores the need for targeted interventions. Casual drinkers who might have a couple of glasses of wine with dinner aren't the main problem. The real danger comes from drivers who are far over the legal limit and are often repeat offenders, causing the majority of fatalities on the road. Even Candace Leitner, the founder of MAD, opposes the 0.05 BAC proposal, calling it impractical. She argues that arresting everyone at 0.05 would not effectively address the core issue of severe intoxication. Lowering the legal limit might save some lives, but it could come with significant costs, including more DUI arrests. If this approach is taken, penalties for those in the 0.05-0.07 range could be reduced or converted to civil fines. Ultimately, the goal is to reduce drunk driving deaths in America. However, this won't be achieved by ignoring the data and focusing on lowering the BAC limit without addressing the root causes of the problem.
Years ago, we started this journey together, bringing you the Wake Up America show every morning. I couldn't have done it without my incredible wife, Steffi, who's always by my side, and now our beautiful baby, Hazel, who's already getting used to studio life, waiting patiently during Freedom Family Fridays. What truly makes this show special is you. Your donations, your purchases from forlibertyshop.com. You're not just supporters, you're family. Together we've built something amazing, and we're just getting started. Thank you for being a part of our family. Here's to many more years of Wake Up America.
I'm Donald Trump, and I approve this message. Believe me, Austin Peterson is the best. He's got the greatest Wake Up America show I've ever seen. Whenever I tune in the mornings and watch the live stream, let me tell you, he has got the absolute best content. I love his guests. It's just a total blast to watch, and I highly endorse and recommend the Wake Up America show. It's terrific, believe me.
Is the outdoor your home about as exciting as a library? Then spice it up and unbore your space with our custom metal signs. Crafted with love and a bit of libertarian magic, you can customize your own metal sign at ap4libertyshop.com. So head to ap4libertyshop.com, customize your own metal sign today.
Welcome to a world of vocal discovery at Peterson Voice Studio. I'm Justin Peterson, here to guide your musical journey. Envision a place where your voice reaches new heights, where every note tells a story. We embrace all singers, from the enthusiastic shower vocalists to aspiring stars, ensuring each voice finds its unique rhythm and tone. Are you ready to elevate your voice? Visit petersonvoicestudio.com and sign up for remote lessons tailored just for you. Let's begin this melodious journey together.
Tired of spending your hard-earned money on woke corporations that don't share your pro-freedom values? Fed up with sipping liberal lattes and progressive cappuccinos? Introducing Founding Flavors from AP for Liberty Shop. Get your day started with Washington's revolutionary roast. As robust and principled as the man himself, this blend is the shot of energy heard round the world. Or maybe you want to taste the fervor of freedom with Adams's patriotic perk. It's as dynamic and balanced as the U.S. Constitution, sure to awaken your spirit of liberty. For the aficionados, we've got the Jeffersonian Java, a complex mix of flavors that speaks volumes about your refined tastes. And don't forget Betsy's Liberty Lullaby, our decaf option, crafted with the same care and dedication Betsy Ross put into our Star-Spangled Banner. This blend lets you enjoy the taste of freedom anytime without losing sleep. No woke beans here, folks. Just pure, patriotic, pro-freedom flavors brewed with love for liberty. So why compromise your principles for a cup of coffee? Stand up for your values, perk up your patriotism, and start your day the American way. Get your Founding Flavors at apforlibertyshop.com.